Hey everyone, David MacDonald here, Vitality Fitness Calgary. Today we're going to go over 3 tips that you can start using to eliminate back pain. So back pain is a very common problem that we see with a lot of our clients, and this is a very common problem in society. People, as they age and as they get older, they tend to have more and more pain through that lower back. Okay, there's many reasons why this happens. Some of the most common ones are lack of core strength, compensation, inactivity. So those are some of the more common reasons why we tend to see back pain. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to show you guys 3 ways, 3 things you can start adding in at home to help alleviate and even reduce some of your back pain. Now we're not saying this is going to cure your back pain. Okay, why you have back pain could be a multitude of reasons, but some of these things might actually help reduce, and it could eliminate some of the back pain that you're having. Okay, if you're compensating, if you're lacking a lot of core strength, if you're not very active. Okay, so these are 3 things you can start adding in, trying at home, seeing if it makes a difference with your back pain. Okay, first thing we want to make sure we're doing is we're actually working and utilizing the core muscles. So when we say core muscles, we're referring to obliques, so that's internal, external obliques, the transverse abdominal muscles, even the rectus abdominis muscles. Okay, the best way to work those muscles and to condition them is to start doing some plank work at home. Okay, and even doing plank work at home, that's very light, okay, that's modified, that's not overly intense. And the whole reason you want to do that is you actually want to train those muscles to start firing and to start working. Okay, half the reason people do get back pain, or some of the reason people get back pain, is because they're not actually firing up the core and the lower back is taking over. Okay, whether or not they're working out, they're doing work around the house, they're picking up things off the floor. Okay, a lot of people tend to just use the lower back and not recruit the core muscles from the sides and the front. Okay, so first thing to start with is doing some plank work. So what I would recommend doing is start with modified plank work from your knees, okay, whether that's side plank or front plank work. And this is just going to train you to start using those muscles, to start strengthening them, and to start conditioning them. So what you're going to do is you're going to go down on your knees. You're going to have your shoulders line up with your elbow. Okay, you're getting your back flat, so we're not sagging down, we're not piking up, we're getting into a nice plank, keeping that back flat. And what we're doing is we're squeezing, we're bracing those abs, pulling that rib cage down towards the hips. Okay? Someone should basically be able to come up to you and try to move you, and you should be able to maintain a nice solid plank position. Okay? If someone tried to come up and move you, then you wouldn't be able to get knocked off balance. So what we want to do when we're in that plank position is we want to hold for about 20 to 30 seconds, and we really want to focus on squeezing and bracing as hard as we can. Okay? Pulling that rib cage down towards the stomach and getting those muscles fired up and strengthened. And the second thing we would want to do for our plank work is doing side planks from the knees. Alright, so we'd be stacking the elbow and the shoulder, lifting up the hips, and then we'd be engaging through the sides. Now a lot of people tend to have a hard time getting those muscles working. Okay, so a really good tip for you at home is you can focus on slightly crunching through the side. So what you'd want to do is once you get up into that plank, you'd almost want to just do a little bit of a crunching motion. So crunch through the side as you guys saw me do, and then hold. Right? So for some of you, you might get up into that plank position and your obliques might fire right away, but for others, it might take a couple more cues or a couple more other tips and tricks to really get those obliques firing. So the best one is getting up and then doing a slight little crunch through the side and then engaging. We don't want to overdo it on the crunch to the point where we're throwing off the exercise, but just a slight little crunch through the side and getting those muscles fired. Again, 20 to 30 second holds on each side. Okay, for each plank exercise, you want to start with about 2 to 3 sets. And if you can add that in 3 to 4 times a week, you'll start to see a huge difference. Okay, when you're doing any kind of exercise, you're doing any kind of core work. Okay, you're going to feel a lot stronger, a lot more stable. The other thing to remember is when you're doing any kind of exercise, any kind of movement, even if it's simple movement like walking, biking, picking up things around the house, doing any kind of yard work, doing any kind of lifting, you always want to make sure we're engaging and we're bracing. Okay? every exercise should be a core exercise if we're doing it correctly, no matter what it is. If it's household chores, if you're doing lunges, push-ups, deadlifts, squats, everything through here has got to be firing, you've got to be engaged. That's going to keep you under your lower back. Okay, that's going to keep you nice and solid and nice and stable when you're doing any kind of movement. So that's another thing to remember. Okay, the next thing we're going to give you guys as a tip is lengthening and stretching out some of the tighter muscles that can occur when you have any kind of back pain. So a very common thing we'll see when anyone has back pain is they have tight hamstrings. Okay, and a lot of the reason that hamstrings are tight is if the core is not activated and not firing like it's supposed to, the hamstrings will kick in to create some kind of stability through the torso. So we want to make sure we're doing to counteract that is, number one, we're actually utilizing those core muscles through the front. Number two, we're actually lengthening the hamstrings. Okay, so lengthen the hamstrings. A couple things we want to do. We're going to show you guys a band hamstring stretch. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put this around my feet and I'm going to cross the band. Okay, so if that happens to slip, okay, that crisscross interlocks the band so it doesn't fall off my foot. Now what I'm going to do from here is when I go back in my stretch, I also want to make sure that my abs are engaged. Okay, so I'm not just letting my abs go and firing up my hamstrings. I'm actually contracting my abs because my hamstrings don't contract, so I can have some room to lengthen them. Okay, and I'm just going to hold this stretch here. The reason why I'm recommending a band is because it allows you to decrease or increase the intensity of your stretch. If you're really tight and flexible. Because if I didn't have the band, I'd have to grab up here, but what if I don't have the flexibility to do that? If I have a band, I can add this in and I can stretch comfortably. We're always getting those abs firing and contracting, okay, so that our hamstrings aren't shortening. And we're holding the stretch here. Right? So you want to do that for about 20 to 30 seconds, probably more closer to 30 seconds per side, lengthening those hamstrings, activating that core, okay, and making sure the hamstrings aren't compensating. Okay, so this is a great stretch because not only does it lengthen the hamstrings, okay, and it deactivates and releases them, but it also allows you to activate the core muscles as well. So you're killing two birds with one stone. You're lengthening the hamstrings and strengthening the core. Okay, the next thing is to actually stretch out that lower back as well. Okay, so some of you just might be tight in the lower back. You might need to release the lower back muscles. Strengthening the core is also going to help with that. It's going to alleviate some of that tightness in the lower back because now your body's going to start to understand that it doesn't have to compensate and kick in the lower back. It can rely on the abs and the obliques to do the work, and it will start to release the lower back muscles. Okay, regardless though, we still recommend adding some stretching in as well, okay, to counteract that tightness in the lower back. So a great stretch for this is to put one foot in. All right, and what we're going to do is instead of trying to lean forward and keeping your back flat, we're actually going to round through the spine a little bit. Okay, we're going to round through the spine. We almost want to try to bring our forehead towards our thigh, and we're going to hold. And this lengthens the lower back, okay, as opposed to staying straight, which puts more emphasis on the hamstrings. The other thing we want to make sure we're doing is we're still contracting and engaging the abs. Okay, so the lower back is not contracting and activating. We want to lengthen the lower back. We don't want it shortly contracting. So we're engaging the abs, coming forward, lengthening that lower back. Right, so that's tip number 3. Now keep in mind, guys, like I said earlier in the video, I'm not saying these are going to 100% cure your low back pain, but it will make an improvement. It will make a bit of a difference. And for some of you, if you're just compensating and you're relying too much on that lower back to stabilize your torso, you're not using your core muscles, if that's the only problem that you have, then this will make a big difference. So step number 1, doing core work to strengthen the transverse abdominals and the obliques. Okay, step 2 is doing that hamstring stretch with that core activation, okay, with the bands. So we lengthen the hamstrings, okay, and we activate when we strengthen the core. And then step number 3 is stretching out that lower back. Okay, so those are 3 steps to start alleviating your back pain today. If you'd like to check us out, you'd like to try us out for your first month, you can go on vitalityfitnesscalgary.com. On the right-hand side, you can activate your first month for only $20. So if you're really interested in coming in, trying out our boot camp, you've been enjoying these videos, you want to come try us out for your first month, just visit us at vitalityfitnesscalgary.com. Activate your 1-month trial on the right-hand side of the website. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you soon.